We are just over 30 days away from the launch of Arc Raiders. This is going to be my first time dipping my toes into the extraction genre, and I gotta tell you, I am getting more and more excited as we close in on the launch here. One of the things that has me the most intrigued here is the skill tree system that is going to be coming inside of Arc Raiders. This consists of a conditioning tree, a mobility tree, and a survival tree, all of which have dozens, just right around 15 different passives or abilities or perks, whatever you want to call them. It's honestly this system right here that has piqued my interest the most, which is why today we're going to be breaking down each and every single passive, each and every single ability and upgrade that you can get out of every single one of these trees. Hopefully this helps us get a better grasp of where exactly we want to be focusing our points at, especially right at the start of Arc Raiders. Speaking of which, we're going to be running that live right here on YouTube as well as on Twitch, where hopefully we can kind of start to snowball the power that we have inside of Arc Raiders. I'll have a link to the Twitch down in the description. Be sure to stop by on day one and see how our progress is going. But let's go ahead, cut this plug, and jump on into this skill tree here. Let's go ahead and start off in conditioning here, where you can see we've got our very first ability coming in, is what I'm going to call them, called Youthful Lungs. This is going to increase your maximum stamina. Most but not all of these abilities and or upgrades come with different tiers of upgrade, meaning that you can upgrade them up to 5 times each. So with something like Youthful Lungs, you're going to be able to upgrade this upwards of 5 times, slowly increasing your max stamina each and every single time. After that, though, we have an ability called Proper Breathing. This makes it to where your stamina regenerates faster. This, again, is one that you can upgrade 5 times, and you'll see with the graphics that I have showing up on the screen, all of the skills that you can upgrade multiple times will be marked as such, so I don't have to continue repeating myself. But next up, we have 3 Deep Breaths. This is an ability where after an ability drains your stamina, you're going to recover your stamina more quickly. Continuing up the right side of this tree here, up next we have Calming Stroll, which makes it to where while you're walking, your stamina is going to regenerate as if you were standing still. This is definitely an interesting passive to have. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments. But let's continue forward here, because up next we have something called Sky Clearing Swing, which makes it to where you deal more melee damage to drones. And then the final 2 that we have on this right side of the conditioning tree are Proficient Prior, which makes it to where breaching doors and containers is going to take you less time. And then we also have Fly Swatter, which makes it to where a single melee attack destroys a tick, pop, wasp, or turret. From what I've seen so far of Arc Raiders gameplay, something like Fly Swatter seems like it would be an ability or passive that you most definitely want to unlock as soon as possible, but it is all the way at the end here of the conditioning tree, and it will require you to have put 36 points into conditioning before you can even unlock something like this. So definitely going to be a bit of a grind if I were to guess, but let's go ahead and move back on down and work our way up the left side of this tree here. Starting off here, we have Stubborn Mule, which makes it to where your stamina regeneration is less affected by being over encumbered. This is going to make it to where even though you're thick, you're stacked, you're over encumbered, your stamina regeneration is still going to be performing a little bit better than it would if you didn't have something like this slotted in. Up next, though, we have Used to the Weight, which makes it to where wearing a shield does not slow you down as much. I'm curious here with passives like this, once you get it slotted up to level 5, how much of a difference is that going to make? Because if shields are slowing you down substantially, slotting into something like this is probably going to be something that you want to start to unlock right away. Well, let's go ahead and move forward here into Good as New, which makes it to where while you're under a healing effect, your stamina regeneration is going to be increased. Then we have Broad Shoulders, which is a passive that is going to increase the maximum amount of weight that you can carry, followed up by Loaded Arms, which makes it to where your equipped weapons has less impact on your encumbrance. Loaded Arms is a passive that seemingly does not have multiple tiers to it, so this may be something that you only need to unlock once in order to gain the benefits from, which is definitely something to take note of. But then if we head into this middle ground here, we have Blastborn, which makes it to where your hearing is less affected by nearby explosions. The second passive here in the middle ground is called Sturdy Ankles, and this makes it to where you take less fall damage when you are falling from a non-lethal height. This is definitely something that I'm going to be slotting into, but let's go ahead and move on into the final ability over in the conditioning tier here, and that is called Security Breach. This, again, requires 36 points in conditioning to even unlock, and it's going to make it to where you can now breach security lockers. I'm not certain how beneficial the loot out of these security lockers is going to be, but having something like that locked at the end of a skill tree is interesting to say the least, and definitely gives people something to grind for. Let's go ahead and move on into the mobility skill tree here. Starting off at the bottom, we've got Nimble Climber. This makes it to where you're going to be able to climb and vault more quickly. I'm curious if we have any hard numbers as to like how much of a difference it's going to make per tier of upgrading Nimble Climber, but passives like this cannot be understated. But let's go ahead and work our way up the right side of this tree here, because up next we have Marathon Runner. This makes it to where moving around is going to cost you less stamina. This is followed up by Effortless Roll, which makes it to where your dodge rolls are going to cost you less stamina, followed by Carry the Momentum, which is going to require 15 points put into mobility, and it makes it to where after a sprint dodge roll, sprinting is not going to consume stamina for a short period of time. This is something that is going to have cooldown between uses, but it may very well be something that is essential for you to get into or possibly get out of situations here inside of Arc Raiders. Moving over to the left side here on the bottom, we have Agile Croucher, which is going to make it to where your movement speed while crouching is going to be increased. And then we have Slip and Slide, which makes it to where you're going to be able to slide further and faster. This is followed up by Survivor's Stamina, which is another ability that requires you to have 15 points slotted in to mobility, and this makes it to where when you're critically hurt, your stamina is going to regenerate faster. Working our way into the second tier of mobility here on the left side, we have Off the Wall, which is going to make it to where you can wall leap further, followed by Vigorous Vaulter, which makes it to where vaulting is no longer slowed down while you're exhausted. In the middle here, we have something called Fight or Flight, which makes it to where when you are hurt in combat, you're going to regain a fixed amount of stamina, and this is going to have a 15-second cooldown in between uses. Stamina seems like it is going to be crucial inside of this game, so mobility is definitely going to be one of those skill trees that you're working into probably as quickly as possible. But next up in the middle section here, we have Crawl Before You Walk, which makes it to where when you are downed, you are going to crawl faster. If you're playing solo, this probably isn't going to help you too much unless you've got some sort of revive mechanic. However, if you're planning on playing in any sort of group play, this is definitely something that's going to help you out more often than not. Moving on to the right side here, we have something called Ready to Roll, which makes it to where when you are falling, your timing window to perform a recovery roll is increased. And then we have Heroic Leap, which makes it to where you're going to be able to dodge roll further. Honestly, the mobility skill tree here so far seems like it is the most game-changing, it is the most game-impacting. But let's go ahead and move on into these final passives. The first one being Vault Spring. This requires 36 points being slotted into mobility, and it's going to let you jump at the end of a vault. And then the other one is called Vaults on Vaults on Vaults, which again is going to require 36 points in mobility, and it's going to make it to where vaulting no longer costs stamina. Like I said, this mobility skill tree here looks absolutely insane. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, but let's go ahead and move on into the final skill tree that we have to break down, called Survival. Starting off, we have something called Looter's Instincts, which makes it to where when you are searching a container, your loot is going to be revealed faster. This is going to be crucial when it comes to getting in and out of situations as quickly as possible, but let's go ahead and work our way down this bottom side here, because up next we have just another plant, which makes it to where while you are crouched, you are less noticeable to the arc. And then up next, we have something called Distracting Aura. This makes it to where arc enemies are less accurate when they are targeting you. This is followed up by something called Unburdened Roll, which requires 15 points being slotted into survival, and it's going to make it to where if your shield breaks, your first dodge roll within a few seconds is not going to cost you any stamina. But let's go ahead and move on into the top section of this tree here, starting off with Silent Scavenger. This is going to make it to where you're going to make less noise while you are looting. This is followed up by Gentle Pressure, which makes it to where you make less noise while you are breaching something. And then we have the passive that requires 15 points being slotted into survival, and this one is called Suffer in Silence. It makes it to where when you are critically hurt, your movement is going to make less noise. Continuing up the top side of this tree, we've got Looter's Luck, which makes it to where while looting, there is a chance to reveal twice as many items at once. I don't think this means that there's a chance to double your loot. I think that this means it's going to speed up the time in which you loot, because you're gonna reveal two things at one time. This again is gonna help you get in and out of situations as quickly as possible. But up next, we have something called A Little Extra, which makes it to where breaching an objective regenerates resources. Moving into the middle section here, we have something called Traveling Tinkerer, which makes it to where you're gonna unlock additional items to be able to field craft. And above that, we have something called One Raider's Scraps, which makes it to where when you are looting Raiders containers, you have a small chance at finding additional field crafted items. And then on the bottom, we have something called Downed But Determined, which makes it to where when you're downed, it's going to take longer before you end up collapsing. And above this is something called Turtle Crawl, which makes it to where while you're downed, you're going to take less damage. It's going to be a little bit harder for the enemies to finish you off. Now let's go ahead and jump into the two top tier passive abilities coming out of this skill tree here. These again require 36 points being slotted into survival before you can even unlock them. The first one is called Minesweeper, and this makes it to where mines and explosive deployables can be diffused when you are in close proximity to them. And then we have something called Back on Your Feet, which makes it to where when you are critically hurt, your health is going to regenerate up to a certain limit. Overall, I think some of the things inside of this survival skill tree are pretty dang solid, like looting containers faster is huge. Also, the Just Another Plant and Distracting Aura passive down at the very beginning, where you're going to be less noticeable to the arc, and they're also going to be less accurate against you. Those are probably some really solid passives to slot into. But overall, I think that this is the one that I'm the least interested in unlocking, at least right off the bat. Again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'm working on a video right now where I'm going to break down what order I will be unlocking each of these passives in and exactly why I'm going to be doing it in that order. Keep an eye out on the channel for that. If you made it this far in the video, comment made it down below so I can give you an extra shout out. Also, hit that like button on your way out of here. You would be surprised how far one like will go into pushing a video into the algorithm. But other than that, I hope you guys all have an amazing day. I'm out.